Hi, kindergartners. It's Miss Cummings here. I hope you all had a great spring break. And this is the first lesson of this week for writing. If you remember, all the way back 2 weeks ago, I started talking to you about nonfiction. Does anyone remember what nonfiction is? Let me remind you. Nonfiction are books that are about true facts. So last week we read What Happens at an Airport, and that was true facts and information about airports. And this week we're going to be reading a book called I Want to Be a Chef. And this is going to give us facts and information about chefs. So, what are chefs? Well, chefs are people who prepare and make food for other people. I have a friend who's a chef, and she's a special kind of chef. She makes cakes and bread, and that's called a pastry chef. So they cook food for other people. Okay. Do you have any other questions about chefs? I'm going to think about that for a second while I introduce you to a new friend. This friend is here to talk to you today. Turn and Talk Ted is behind me. But Turn and Talk Ted wanted some of his other friends to hear your ideas too. So this is Talk to Me Tiger. Say hi. And he kind of climbs around, because tigers are used to being on trees, right? Yeah, in the forest and the jungle. Okay, so Talk to Me Tiger is gonna be listening for your great ideas today. And he first wants to know if you have any other questions about chefs. Yeah, and I prepared some questions about chefs that I had. So let's take a look at those. Okay, right here says questions about chefs. Who do chefs cook for? What do chefs cook? Where do chefs work? When do chefs cook? Why? Why do they cook? And how do you become a chef? Those are my questions about chefs. If you agree with some of my questions and want to know the answers, or if you have your own questions, you should message me or message your teacher and ask your questions that you have about chefs. If you message me a new question, I will add it to our class chart for questions about chefs. As we read today, we're going to listen and see if any of our questions are answered. Okay. I want to be a chef. What do chefs do? They prepare food for people to enjoy. Preparing food means that they make it or they put it together. The word chef means chief. A chef is in charge of a kitchen. Chefs plan menus. A menu is a list of food that is served in a restaurant. Served means that that's the food that they make in the restaurant, or the food that they offer that you can order off the menu. Finding fresh food is an important part of a chef's job. A chef's day is a busy one. Some chefs start work early in the morning. They often work on weekends and holidays. People like to eat on holidays, right? So chefs don't really get a break. All right, what have you learned about chefs so far? Can you talk to me, Tiger, what you've learned about chefs so far? Okay. You might have learned that chefs work on holidays, and you might have learned that chefs make menus for restaurants. You could have learned other things too. Let's keep going. People train to become chefs. They learn their job by going to school and working in restaurants. A chef needs to have a good sense of taste. This salad needs a little more salt and pepper. At home, people cook for a family. In a restaurant, a chef prepares meals for many people. There are different kinds of chefs. Pastry chefs make cakes, pies, breads, and fancy desserts. That's just like my friend. She doesn't look like that, though. Chefs use different tools. They use sharp knives to cut food. The sous chef is the chef's assistant. Assistant means their helper. The sous chef works under the main chef. Sous is the French word for under. What else have you learned about chefs so far? Turn and talk. You could have learned that sous chef is an assistant, or that pastry chefs are the ones that make cake. Okay. This pizza chef creates hundreds of pizzas a day. He'll make your pizza just the way you like it. Chefs make sure that the food is tasty. The food must also look nice on the plate. A chef's tall white hat is called a toque. Have you seen hats like that before? Some chefs write cookbooks. Chef Ernie has just written a book about fresh food. Cookbooks are books that chefs write that have information about food and cooking, and they also have recipes that you can make at home. Chefs need to take care of their pots, pans, knives, and other equipment. This young chef is making her favorite recipe. You can make it too, and see the next page. What do you think her favorite recipe is? Ooh, chocolate chip cookies. I'll hold that up for a second in case you want to screenshot it and make them at home. That'd be really yummy. All right. What is something interesting you learned about chefs from this book? Turn and talk. Okay. I learned that big hat is called a toque. I didn't know that before. That's really interesting. Were any of our questions answered? Let's reread the chart. Questions about chefs. Who do chefs cook for? Did we answer that? They could cook for a lot of people. Yeah. What do chefs cook? What do you think? If you were a chef, what would you cook? Where do chefs work? I think chefs could work at restaurants. They could work in a bakery. Yeah. When do chefs work? Yeah, they do work on holidays. That's a bummer. They might also work weekends. They basically work any time that anyone needs food, which is basically all the time. Huh. Yeah. Hard life. Why do chefs cook? Did the book answer that? Talk to me, Tiger, your idea. And how do you become a chef is the last question. How do you think you become a chef? Talk to me, Tiger. Interesting. All right. So if you have more questions about chefs that you would like to be answered, you can have someone older help you message Miss Cummings or Miss Bush or Miss Choi and message us with your questions. If you message me with your questions, I'll add them to the chart and we can find the answers together. Okay? Now, you are going to be writing some nonfiction this week. Last week you wrote about a special place, and my special place writing is right here. Remember, I wrote about my couch and sitting on my couch with my cats and my book. This week we're going to write about a special person. Now, I've invited someone special to come to our writing lesson tomorrow, and it's a surprise. I'm not going to tell you who that special person is. But I will tell you that it's someone that works at Lowell Elementary. Who do you think the special guest is for tomorrow? Interesting. Well, you will see the special guest tomorrow, and we're going to ask them questions so that we can write about that person. And that's going to be nonfiction because it's going to be true facts. It's going to be true facts about that person, true information. Okay? So I'll see you again tomorrow, and we will go over any new questions about chefs that you send, and we will also be talking to our special guest and doing some writing about that guest. So I'll see you tomorrow.